Welcome to Political Risk Demystified, your channel for learning, applying, and growing in the political risk industry. Political risk is everywhere, but most people struggle to define it. That confusion creates a real barrier to entry. People read the headlines, follow global developments, even study international affairs, but they still don't know how to use that knowledge in a way that employers value. That's why this channel exists, to demystify the field, one video at a time. At its core, political risk is the likelihood and magnitude of impact that political events, decisions, or conditions will have on business operations, investments, or profitability. In other words, how politics affects outcomes that organizations care about. Take a global energy company. If the government in a producing country nationalizes all foreign-owned assets, that's political risk. If a sanctions package gets announced with little warning, that's political risk. If a new regime comes in and rewrites trade agreements, same thing. Analysts often break political risk down into three types. Macro-political risk, like a coup or sweeping regulatory overhaul which affects all companies in a country. Micro-political risk, such as a targeted tax that hits one sector. And geopolitical risk, which plays out between states, like war, diplomatic fallout, or multilateral sanctions. Here's where it gets tricky. There's no single definition of political risk that applies to all organizations equally. A regional instability event that terrifies a retail brand might be irrelevant to a software firm. That's why the term itself is a moving target. Political risk is subjective. It's context-dependent. That's why professionals in this space treat it as a working definition, not a fixed one. And that flexibility is both the strength and the challenge of working in this field. Now, here's a critical distinction most people miss: risk versus uncertainty. Risk involves two measurable dimensions, likelihood and magnitude. Uncertainty means you don't have those numbers. You're dealing with incomplete or conflicting information. Political risk analysts spend much of their time turning uncertainty into risk. That means applying structure to the unknown, looking at signals, context, and second-order effects to frame options and outcomes. That's the value add. That's the job. Now, if this sounds broad, that's because it is. Political risk sits at the intersection of politics and business. It's not quite political science. It's not quite corporate strategy. It's the connective tissue between them. That's what makes it powerful and hard to teach. A strong analyst in this space doesn't just explain what's happening. They answer the so what. They connect analysis to business relevance. Whether the audience is an investor, a CEO, or a country team, the goal is always the same: clarity that leads to better decisions. Here's a quick example. Say a country announces a surprise export ban on a key mineral. What's the risk? For a mining firm operating there, it's existential. For an automaker sourcing parts downstream, it's a supply chain disruption. For a hedge fund, it's a signal to reweight commodities. Same event, different risks, different strategies. That's why clarity matters. In future videos, we'll break down how the industry is structured, what roles exist, and what skills you actually need to succeed. But none of that makes sense unless you understand this foundational idea. Political risk is less about the event and more about the impact. That's what separates general news consumption from true political risk analysis. Thanks for watching. If this helped clarify anything, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment with your biggest question about political risk so far. And when you're ready to go deeper, join the Political Risk Demystified community, where analysts grow together.